It is now open. So that's what I was saying, that you can move this forward.
नमस्कार। लंबे अंतराल के बाद हम लोग इस सभागार में मिल रहे हैं। सभागार में उपस्थित तथा विविध माध्यमों से सभा में जुड़े हुए सभी अतिथियों का CSIR-NEERI परिवार की ओर से मैं जया सब्जीवाले हार्दिक स्वागत करती हूँ। आज अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला दिवस है। सभी महिला वैज्ञानिकों तथा सभा में सम्मिलित विविध क्षेत्रों से जुड़ी महिलाओं को अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। आज का विषय नई शिक्षा नीति से जुड़ा हुआ है। इस कार्यक्रम में शिक्षकों और छात्रों का जुड़ना विशेष महत्व रखता है। शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में कार्यरत सभी प्रतिनिधियों का इस सभा में विशेष स्वागत है। मुख्य व्याख्यान के बाद आप सभी इस विषय पर इंटरैक्शन के लिए सादर आमंत्रित हैं। निदेशक महोदय से मैं स्वागत भाषण करने का अनुरोध करती हूँ।
गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल। आज का विषय जो है ऑलरेडी we are going to have a lecture on national educational policy, and today is Women's Day. Of course, it speaks a lot about what status of Women's Day we have NEERI, and what kind of affection we have for education policy. It's very clear speaking. People prefer to be online, very good, no issues. But nevertheless, it is a very important topic on national education policy, and it was referred yesterday's performance assessment board meeting of NEERI. Sarna was there. It was clearly referred by one of the members that national education policy has to be taken up by all CSR laboratories. NEERI is no exception, obviously. Yesterday's PhD was for NEERI. We had already discussed about NEP, and I am sure that very few of us would have read the national education policy, and many of us may not know even there is something like national education policy. That's why discussions with Dr. Kalpatira, we thought that we should have one lecture from him, because he is well studied into that, and how best NEERI can fit itself into the national education policy was the actually topic of the lecture. Incidentally, today is the Women's Day, and we thought that we should also, it's not exactly for Women's Day, topic is related. On behalf of CSIR-NEERI, I extend all women scientists, women research fellows, project associates, and all the staff of administration, finance, especially ladies staff of finance and administration, sales and purchase, and even the contractual staff where ladies are working. So my best wishes to all of them. And today, on this occasion, we thought of felicitating women scientists. So that will follow up with the program. So I again welcome all of you for this lecture on national education policy, and to celebrate along with this Women's Day. And again, my best wishes. Thank you very much.
धन्यवाद सर। इस संस्थान की महिला वैज्ञानिकों का विज्ञान के क्षेत्र में सराहनीय योगदान रहा है। NEERI की वरिष्ठ वैज्ञानिक डॉक्टर साधना रायडू को उनके ग्रीन क्रैकर टेक्नोलॉजी के लिए CSIR का बेस्ट टेक्नोलॉजी अवार्ड इस साल मिला है। उनकी इस सफलता को हम अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला दिवस के अवसर पर सम्मानित करेंगे। निदेशक महोदय से अनुरोध है कि वो डॉक्टर साधना रायडू को सम्मान चिन्ह द्वारा सम्मानित करें। जो लोग समाज माध्यमों से जुड़े हैं उनसे भी अनुरोध है कि तालियों से हम उनको सम्मानित करें। धन्यवाद महोदय। विविध पर्यावरण से जुड़े क्षेत्रों में आपका अनुभव प्रदीर्घ रहा है। भारतीय शिक्षा व्यवस्था के प्रति आपकी विशेष आस्था है। इस विषय में आपके मौलिक विचार हैं। इन्हीं विचारों पर आधारित आज के व्याख्यान का विषय है NEERI's Vision for National Education Policy NEP2020 Multidisciplinary Environmental and Education Research University। विज्ञान के अलावा राव सर का सामाजिक क्षेत्रों में भी महत्वपूर्ण योगदान है। राव सर के कार्यों का परिचय शब्दों के परे है। राव सर का परिचय उनके व्याख्यान के माध्यम से ज्यादा अच्छी तरह से होगा। अतः मैं राव सर को व्याख्यान के लिए सादर आमंत्रित करती हूँ।
Good morning. Happy Women's Day. It's a good occasion and combining a talk on educational policy and Women's Day tells about the women's education importance, who is the first educator of our lives. So it's most appropriate, even though quarterly it was synchronized or otherwise, it's and I congratulate, I bow my head for all the women who are playing either in CSIR or in every walk of their lives, an important role. And national education policy has a very important role because the first ABCD of your life is taught by women. So it's good. And first, second is nice to be in NEERI in the same auditorium, but lot of space because everybody wants space in the modern life. A wife wants a space or a husband wants a space. That's so now we are trying. Hopefully, that space and the interactions will come closer, if not physically, mentally, educationally, emotionally, in every way. I call NEP as a simply not national education policy. It's national emotional policy, national environmental policy, and national economic policy, national enlightenment policy, because all the elements of whichever whomsoever requires is there in the NEP. And it's quite appropriate. And I would like to, I have given time of from 30 to 40 minutes. So my talk is organized because I have to play T20 match in terms of 40 minutes. Otherwise, ये ऑडिटोरियम खड़े होके अपने माइक के घर आया तो फिर कोई रोक नहीं सकेगा. And the question is, the first 5-10 minutes is why me? Why I am talking here? I never talked on this topic in this very auditorium. I spoke on several webinars and forums, etc., but never in this level on this educational policy. Why me? The second is why NEP? Why we should talk of NEP on Women's Day? Directly or indirectly, both are connected. And our life starts and our education starts there. Women is the first teacher. So why NEP? The third question is why NEERI? NEERI is a research institute. What NEERI has to do with the education policy? NEERI is a research institute. And to the best of my knowledge, because the last few years I'm closely in touch with NEP discussions, interactions. Fortunately, I had the first interaction about NEP when it was in conceptual stage with the ex-president of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam, at his house. My first discussion was with him at his house. After he retired from his president's office, we were talking about climate change. Incidentally, this topic came. The other interaction in a big way is with Kasturi Rangan, who is the author of the engineering. Kasturi Rangan is the ex-ISRO chairman. So he wanted to take the education to the satellite level or galaxy level or cosmos level. So that's one. Is why NEERI? My question is why not NEERI? Why not? What NEERI doesn't have? Whatever NEP says, everything is inside NEERI. And new normal, we are talking of post-pandemic new normal. So a new normal, why not NEERI new normal? And with new directions for new nation. And most importantly, this talk assumes importance in terms of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. It does not take a time to take stock of what media nation is doing and how we can take it forward. One. Instead, most importantly, which is relevant for media directly is this year is the Golden Jubilee of World Environment Day. 1972, Indira Gandhi addressed the Stockholm Conference. That was the day when it was declared the world will celebrate World Environment Day. Incidentally, so the foundation stone was laid by the women prime minister of this time. 72, June 5th. And more appropriate coming locally, why not this initiative come from with Narayan at the helm of the affairs? Atul Narayan Vaidya is here. So that's more appropriate. Narayan has to bless the sustainability. He is the god of sustainability. Hopefully things will be sustained. And NEP birthday is celebrated every year since last 2 years. June 29, 2022. The next birthday is on that, and every birthday is being addressed by none other than the Prime Minister of India. It was launched on July 29 by Prime Minister Modi before last year when just Corona has set in. That is in March, we are celebrating the anniversary of Corona and national lockdown also in this month. And so this with this preamble, the question is my talk. I told you why me. Second is why NEP. Third is why NEP. Fourth is what are the new directions. Fourth is what are the major features of NEP? Because based on my talks earlier and outside, in many management and other research issues, people have not taken NEP seriously except the educational institutions. Because it has come on ahead. If in India, if you have to survive over next 10, 15 years and afterwards, without NEP, there is no way any education institution can survive. So, but then, till now, no research institute has thought officially, at least on paper I have not seen, of getting into a leading role and playing its own might with all its strengths in this NEP. Till now, this is the first ever, to the best of my knowledge, after attending several webinars, meetings, the last 2.5 years, not even one research institute would be thought of implementing NEP 2020 in a research institute. So I congratulate the director and all the staff of NEERI. When I say NEERI, I am talking to you as because it's the NEERI's vision, both as an insider and an outsider. Outsider is because I am not in the roles of NEERI as on today, except as a pensioner. Insider, whatever I am talking today, whatever knowledge, what everything I have, including my pension. Still, I am getting NEERI resources. So I hope whatever way I am standing here, able to talk or maintain my health and be able to address my own family members here. So that's my privilege today. Hopefully, I will be able to contribute in a better way because today is only 40 minutes conceptual vision. And I bring your attention again, this is the first ever time in India, a talk on NEP2020 in a research institute is happening. How it can implement? Because nobody has thought of it. It goes to the credit of the present management and all the upcoming young, old, senior, everybody who thought he should take the lead. And now coming to this topic first, why me? Or why me? I always said. So whatever terminology I was using for all my research projects, these projects, for the last 20, 30 years, my total service in NEERI officially is 35 years, is all the terminology I was using, I found that in NEP. There is nothing in NEP which is not being done. And this, when I say I talk as an outsider, this is also for the all the people who are connected online for the education institutions, other CSIR laboratories, because when I say NEERI, it's not I am preaching NEERI, I am part of NEERI, but all CSIR laboratories can take it too from that. And so all the research terminology we are using now it is NEERI. And last 3-5 years, apart from my environment related work here, I am closely connected with, as was said, several social organizations, educational organizations, schools, colleges, IIMs, IITs. So talking them with them, they are all connected. I don't know how many, but it's equally relevant. So that's the reason when I say NEERI should do this, that I mean all like NEERI. It's not I am trying to teach NEERI because it is NEERI's vision, it's NEERI's initiative, it's NEERI's strength, and what I am talking is as part of NEERI. Still, I am living at the full given by NEERI. So that is the second part. So the research terminology that's being used is one. So the first part I want to talk is on the why me is because of this background of my interaction with the ex-president of India, Kasturi Rangan, where I spent almost 15 days with him in NIAS discussing multidisciplinary approaches for science and technology in a training course I attended as scientist for 2 years back. That was one. And almost because this environment, education, my social work, all are my passions, including professions, is passion, not fashion. So all these things are relevant. And so that's the with all the work, almost literally last 2-3 years, I almost worked particularly during the work from home time given to me by the corona pandemic for everybody. I did a lot of research. How all the research I know for the last few years, are 35 years of my stay in India, and how they can put it in improving the educational scene of the country, which is the heart and core of the NDP. That one. So with all that research, I took interest in NDP. I started attending several meetings, addressing several meetings. Then how you put, but all were educational institutions. IIMs, IITs, but not even a single. I found finally, how is that such a big research component? We are not the research institutes, particularly CSIR laboratories and all that, have not come into picture. It was bothering my mind. So I was putting this idea, but talking, and I started preparing on this count if I get an opportunity, how the whole framework and execution can be done. So that's the first part. Why me to talk on this? All the homework, all the research work, all my passions, everything, and most importantly, my responsibility towards the nation is Azadi Ka Mahotsav, Amrit Mahotsav. That's the first one, and we after pandemic we are also having a new normal. So how NEERI? When I say NEERI, I already told you, I am here. We can go ahead because this is NEERI's vision, not an individual vision. It's a collective vision. One. So with that, NEP slide background and important features of NEP for people who are not quite familiar with that. Second is why NEP should take advantage of NEP and what other institutions in the world are doing on NEP and on what is the roadmap for NEP. How many concerns in how many ways we can do. Luckily, the preamble and necessity for this one in NEERI has been already dealt by the director, saying that yesterday there was the appraisal committee of NEERI performance appraisal. One of the members asked what's NEP is relevant for NEERI, for any laboratory. So what's that? So my job is, I have already started yesterday in terms of that. And I start with the NEP features because in 1986, right from our independent India, in 1986, the earlier education policy was promulgated. And there were several, actually, I am not going to the history part. I want to mainly focus on NEERI and environment and the related educational fields. After that, there are many, like all these things were pointed out because they are all watertight. I have read physics, I'm a physicist, I have read chemistry, I am in one. And if I have taken composite mathematics in my 9th class, my life is still to get in. I have no opportunity of learning any arts, any music, any other subjects. And the latest, I start with my introduction of NEP. The latest, you must have seen last week, newspapers, internet, everything. Indian Institute of Science has started last week only. Medical school and Bajji Pathsardi Hospital. This is the first ever biggest private initiative by any institute in the country. Yeah, IISc is already doing these things, but first private donation of highest magnitude, 425 crores, last Monday, it was donated. So it is a conceptual school. They want to have IISc medical school and Bajji Pathsardi Hospital. So they have decided it will give degree, PhD and MBBS. It will give science and engineering, technology and MBBS. And its goal is to prepare physician scientists. Till now we have not had this word again. Physician scientists. For that, first 6 months, all the doctors or the aspirants or the students are trained in different laboratories, computer, physics, chemistry, water, whatever it is they feel. First 6 months they are trained in that. Next 6 months they are trained in their doctoral curriculum. And after that, linking this engineering and that medicine, what kind of patients, what kind of diseases, what kind of advances are required. So they will study for the next 2-3 years. So they are calling it as bench to bed philosophy. Right from the experimental bench to the hospital bed. That's bench to bed philosophy they are calling it. And where the first time again we mentioned science, engineering, medicine, pilot plants, clinical, hospital duty for these engineers. Where exactly engineers is important? including their outer environment, inner environment, is required. I just want to start to inspire and share what really happening in the country. The latest I quote, otherwise there are many examples. This happened only last month. It was in the news. Now, what are the important features of NEP which NEERI should take advantage of? There are some 180 rules, guidelines laid out by Kasturi Rangan Committee, which was constituted few years back, and he gave a satellite push to it because India is a country where satellite and Balakrat go together. So to bridge this, the education is the only way. We talk of going to Mars, but for the last 2 years we can't come out of our house. How do you bridge this? But for this kind of online meetings. So under NEP, so this was promulgated, discussed, draft. I was part of the draft discussions. Then it was also draft was circulated all over the country from 2018 to 2020, and it was discussed. Nagpur, we gave comments, we had meetings in collector office, etc., etc., etc. Finally, after the cabinet approval, it was promulgated on 2020 July 29, by none other than Prime Minister. And he is reviewing every year and before. If you have seen or heard his lectures on TV or on YouTube, whenever, including the latest budget discussions, just 1 week, 10 days back, he said how NEP requirements, financial provisions are addressed in the budget for each item. For example, National Research Fund, 50,000 crores have been earmarked. And if we need it, or we everybody can claim that we are doing research in the direction fitting into the overall mandate of NEP. So we will have the option of getting some money. And so this is the first part. And with education being state subject, each state is required to pass the legislation or give government approval for the NEP to come into operation in their respective state. So several states have legislatures have passed and appointed committees. How exactly we can implement this in our respective state? Some states have already done it, like Karnataka is already being implemented in the engineering colleges, and some of the CSIR laboratories, in a very little way, they started connecting themselves. IICT, CCMB, there are news items I can show, or paper cuttings, etc. So, but in a very sporadic way, very few, hardly even CSIR labs have taken, but not in an overall holistic way. So, what government of Maharashtra, where NEERI is located, and we are all living, is that they appointed again none other than Mashelkar ex-DG of CSIR as the chairman of the committee. How do you implement the NEP 2020 all over Maharashtra? This was appointed last year June, and they submitted their report. And this again September, but because of the political upheaval, not making happening, our legislature approval is not approved. Now it was one Mashelkar committee submitted how to take it forward in the state of Maharashtra, which will also be incidentally binding on NEERI because we are located in Maharashtra, apart from the CSIR lab. But the other point is, even Mashelkar committee report talks of only education institutions, not a research. He was DG of CSIR, but I think he has a very big syllabus in the mind. But he thought that was the terms of connect. TOR for the committee is on that. So now his report is out. Government of Maharashtra is seized of how to implement it. We thought to know how to implement it, there are several features. But some of the features, there are on total 180 features listed. Mashelkar committee also, earlier we were using Mashelkar committee for auto fuel policy. When it is peak when I was in the air pollution control division. We know all the hard discussions and this is also path breaking one, but it has a limited scope because of the limited resources. So, and similarly, now everybody has come up with the country with all the problems they have faced in the last 2 years in implementing this. So, what happened is, Government of India again constituted a committee by the same chairman, Kasturi Rangan, to draft the syllabus for all that is to be done in the country under IT. That's other point. Then again there were several committees formed. There were 25 committees formed, and couple of committees on art-based education and all. To give the scientific inputs into how that could be the medium of instruction, that could be pedagogy. So now, as on today, we are governed by the Mashelkar Committee report in the state of Maharashtra, plus the national report, but not for a research institute. There is no separate CSIR guidelines or etc. This talk is to initiate, trigger that movement, for which I want it to take the lead, which is it's already taking. Because the reason is the first, I'll talk 4 or 5 important features of NEP, which NEERI should catch, or any CSIR laboratory or anybody, including the education institutions, should catch on that. The first one is they have classified NEP into 3 kinds of universities in the country. From this year onwards, implementation may take 5 to 10 years. Our maximum upper limit was set as 15 years, that is 2035. But the work several committees, last year and this year, I tell you, it was a pandemic of webinars on NEP. Pandemic of webinars, because everybody was sitting at home. Everybody is aware. It is an infodemic, information pandemic. One, and whether it is a medical college or engineering college, one. So they classified into 3 parts: research intensive university, teaching intensive university, and autonomous colleges who are given the authority to award the degrees. Plus, subsequently, online universities, digital universities are often, there are many under the digital education they are given. So the first heading, research intensive university. That's what we do here. Here is doing, everybody lab is doing. So if it is research intensive, why not NEERI? Then day and night the research is happening. And all education institutions are trying to contact the other research institutes or other schools and colleges. So that they don't have any background of research or they don't have any infrastructure to carry out the research. They are trying to somehow tie up with some research. हम धीरे विजिट पे जाते हैं ये करेंगे साइंस एक्सहिबिशन करेंगे वो करेंगे. It is at that level, not in a big way. हम एक टर्बिडोमीटर डेली में दिखा देंगे या डेली एक्सहिबिशन दिखाएंगे या BMET में. The interaction, their linking is how to fulfill the requirement of that research intensive component into their education student to show that they get their grants. Even though always some genuine cases will always be there, some are very serious and trying with whom I am connected and I am available. So this is the first part, important element of the on which NEERI should cash on or any institution should cash on. Like the school, because this is applicable at 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Foundation, primary, middle, and at all levels. Totally the division is divided into 15 years. And it has to be implemented at every stage, right from early childhood education part of it. All these are mandate. Special children, gender equality, women, incidentally the women is there. So this is the first part. The second part is, which is NEP mentions is everybody is sitting in their watertight compartments. Now, no problem in this world today is single. A physicist cannot solve a corona problem or a pandemic problem. A chemist cannot do that. A doctor cannot do that. A vaccine developer cannot do that. An engineer cannot do that. It's all multidisciplinary. Example, corona, if we take it, it requires a doctor, it requires instrumental, it requires vaccine developers, it requires ventilators, it is hospital beds, hospital management, education institutions, public awareness. Tell me is there any single discipline which is not required in trying to handle the corona? So they said all future courses will be multidisciplinary. All. It's not single one physics or chemistry. All colleges, all institutions have to become multidisciplinary. In future, it will not. All single will be merged, or they will come together as a cluster. And they have defined 5 kinds of disciplinary, which I will only quote the title, like multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, intradisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, and transdisciplinary. Cross-disciplinary, and even education without boundaries. Special children, vocational, and to achieve that, they said these 5, all institutions have to work on these 5 tracks. Merge, revise, reorganize, redo everything of multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, interdisciplinary. Second is, I told you the teaching by research intensive part. So this multidisciplinary, that's happening in NEERI for the last, right from the birth. We are dealing with water, we are dealing with air, we are dealing with life. There are chemists, there are biologists, there are doctors, there are instrumentation mechanics. So multidisciplinary is already happening. Why not maybe take advantage? Because we are research intensive, we are multidisciplinary, all one, including ozone pollution, climate change, sustainability. Everything is happening in the NEERI and in many other institutions. I am taking NEERI because I am standing here. Several institutions in this great country are there who are doing in a big way or a small way. The third important part, which is still not happening in NEERI, but happening in other places, at least in some places, including of the arts and sciences into the curriculum. Now there is no additional curriculum beyond what you read in the classroom, as per the NEP. Like we usually have separate vocational skills. We have special children, socio-economic learning, soft skills, employability skills, behavioral, environmental behaviors in terms of sustainability, entrepreneurship. All these are considered as external add-ons, extracurricular activities. I had craft as an extra, sports is an extra period. Environment even today, even though as per Supreme Court judgment, is supposed to be the part of curriculum, there is no examination. So people are misusing that provision. I know several colleges. आपका नाम लिखेंगे और कुछ बताइए ये चार जरा कागज दीजिए एग्जाम नहीं है we have to fulfill the requirement of as per Supreme Court mandate environmental science is part of our life. So future is not. Now there is nothing like external. There is nothing like extracurricular. There is nothing like non-academic. There is nothing like vocation. Because all scientists are there. Are they only just competent for science? When they go home, I talk to a plumber for getting some repairs. I talk to an electrician. So all the vocational skills, everybody should be expert. So all have been merged into the regular syllabus with credit hours for different ones. So this is the because arts are required. Arts means science, music. One because in psychotherapy, we use MAD therapy. We use the thoughts and dance. Everybody, nowadays, you are reading, everybody is having their headphones. All KG1 and KG2, all this thing, everything is taught in terms of music. So, our heart is very close to the emotions and the related fine arts. And if you can use that to get the creativity, connect the dots here, and use it the logic required for the engineering, whether it is environmental engineering, space engineering, or medical engineering, whatever it is. So, the incorporation of liberal arts and for sciences is part of this. These three features, well qualified, put NEERI in a front position, or any laboratory or any education institution, wherever it is there. And it's a good opportunity. NEERI can not only take lead in CSIR laboratories, but in the whole country, this will be the first model biodiscipline institute. I am going to hear or see with all my pandemic of webinars for the past years during discussions with the VIPs right from top. Now, most important, the last element of this is outcome based. This has been made outcome based, compulsory. Yes, it is not. I get degree in BA, BE, BSc. So what? आपको BE मिला तो नेशन को क्या मिला है? किसी का कुछ फायदा हुआ है? Anybody is benefited? Any rural area is benefited? Any common man is benefited? So outcome based. With this vaccine, I have done this. This saved this many number of people. With this ventilator newly designed, this many people of. With this oxygen concentration, so many deaths have been prevented. Now, MBBS, yeah, we get MBBS. So now there is an expiry date coming. There is a certification coming. You have to prove your degree has made a difference. Made a difference is again MAD. Unless you get MAD, you cannot make a difference. These are the 4 or 5 features. There are several, but for want of time, I will not touch them. Research intensive, multidisciplinary, and all categories of intra, transboundary, etc., which we are doing in the global pollution, etc. And this is defined briefly for a minute for students, teachers, response management, because there are part in the Jigyasa group which we can take advantage in linking with them whatever NEERI's leadership or any other laboratory research. It requires linkages because it is 5 plus 3 plus 3, 4 horizontal and vertical linkages. Then pedagogy. If NEERI does it, can it use the green pedagogy? Somebody is using sports pedagogy. For example, during Modi's design, first time in the country, there is a National Children's University which came. Along with that, also National Sports University, National Teachers University. Focus is on the pedagogy, curriculum, other things you are going to use it. I had the opportunity of visiting them, working them, talking to them. There are several interesting projects, but this is not the time. And this has to be done at a foundation, early childhood care, then preparation level, next 5 plus 3, plus 3 middle level, and secondary, plus again at the university level, for which the necessary institutions, committees, organizational setups are brought in by the NRF, National Research Foundation. 50,000 crores is allocated. Even Prime Minister mentioned in the latest budget speech. After Sitaram, he was talking how this addresses the AGP needs. HEI, higher education institutions, natural digital education infrastructure, architecture, NAC, IQAC, several. And supporting resources for learning, NPTEL, Swardha, Diksha, Swayam, e-Patala, and so on and so forth. Several task forces are formed, and some of them I have written. Home of liberal arts and sciences, how you can, because all these subjects are there. How you can link all the subjects, physics, chemistry, air pollution and water pollution, and corona, microbiology, vaccine development, and the field requirement, social awareness, all are interrelated. How, at what level, in what way, horizontal, and for different kinds of audience, for different sort of science or arts colleges, how you can do that. Actually, it has its concept based on the Chinese model of education. Just to tell you briefly in one or two sentences, Chinese education model is they have few research institute, a cluster, linked to few industries and few education institutions. So these education institutions will teach what is required to be done based on the research inputs given by the research institutes. And what these manpower which is produced in teaching institutes will do research there and will also work in the industries as per the industry sector. Whatever needs the industry points out or addresses or identifies, that comes back again to the research institute, which prepares the necessary material for teaching in the teaching institute. So it's a cluster of teaching, industry, academia, and research institute. That's what it is. What Kasturaran committee tried to do is put all the three into one space shuttle packet. Because he comes from ISRO, he is an exercise chair. So same concept has been included in this. So Kumbho of liberal arts, sciences, which art will fit. So these are all the other elements. Some working groups, infrastructure, this is also there. Now, these are the salient features. There are several, but they will take their own time. Now, why it is important for me? I already talked indirectly or directly on this issue. Like Maharashtra is encouraging single subject universities. We have a University of Health Sciences. We have a Health First institution in also. We have Maharashtra Knowledge Corporation Limited. Okay, so Mechanical Committee, while giving the report, they have included Nagpur as one of the centers for multidisciplinary university. If that's one of the recommendations of the system, which we can take advantage. The advantage is either a education institution takes the lead or a research institution takes the lead. Till now, education institutions have started taking it, not everybody. But in research side, we could be that center. With all our Jigyasa schools, connections, CBSE schools, so many engineering colleges, medical colleges, and we can lead as a focal leader, doing all these things which are being talked about since ages. Only thing is it requires like readdressing, and reframing, putting the necessary things that are required for that. So what this aims based on the others' experiences, integrating science, engineering, and environmental research, liberal art into one. You don't have to restructure NEERI. Each department is already exists. The question is the orientation, slightly changing of the syllabus and mandate. And what it NEERI should aim, as per my talk or research, intersection of environmental engineering, multidisciplinary research, these are already happening, but in a big way now, and liberal arts. And till now, most important feature of the NDP is these are all education-driven research. Education institutions, because they have under obligation to do research, they are embarking on this. Education is driving the research. Now, I suggest a model for me based on my interaction with all people here. Why not research-driven economics? Research-driven economics. So that we have all several areas, real-life problems, everywhere we are doing it. And but our research into education curriculum, into schools, Jigyasa schools, other schools, colleges, green skills, we are conducting several programs, several education institutes are conducting MDP, FDP faculty development programs. Why not? Why not any institution like me? Or why not any CSIR laboratory or any education institution? This is for common. I am addressing NEERI because I owe my life to NEERI. Whatever I am today, I am talking is from NEERI given knowledge. I have not acquired anything after leaving NEERI. It's only just reinforcing that. So, interdisciplinary of environment and humanities is what required. Because ultimately, whole thing has to be a solely human purpose. That's why in Singapore, based on these principles, NIST University has come up. National Institute of Singapore University for NIST is TH, Technology and Humanities. How every science part can be used for a social and humanitarian. Yeah, this is one of the things that are happening. And all these things, if one looks at the ancient, if one goes through some of the chapters of NEP, these are all mentioned in our ancient texts. Curriculum to curriculum is the concept of NEP. Then sustainability, everybody talks and goes in a different ways, like green belt, green packages. The sustainability is the still clarity confusion. I was talking to director of DB where he gave his ideas for inclusion of laws of thermodynamics, life cycle assessment, NRA, carrying capacity, air pollution, integrated model for air pollution, climate change, and all because nothing is separate, nothing is independent. Biodiversity, we have every year this climate change meeting happens in every year. There is a subject called climate psychology and psychiatry for all the heads of the state. So climate psychology because all this anxiety, whatever anxiety we are having, whether it is due to corona or climate change or whether Bombay will get submerged or whether Nagpur will get if there is a heavy rain in terms of weakness. I already gave the example of latest, there are several, but the latest example I gave, how Indian Institute of Science is moving. They already with their work plan. They want to award the degree of scientist to physicians. PhD MBBS, BTech MBBS. This kind of, because they are trying in engineering, sciences, medical sciences, and daily they go to the wards and treat what their requirements are engineering. Is it medicine manufacturing? Is it vaccine manufacturing? Is it need for a new ventilator? Is it for a new pacemaker? So all exposures are given the first 2 years, the remaining 2-3 years, they will work on by interconnecting all this. Similar things are there several in NEERI. So, and National Children's University, Course University, Teachers University, now we have Yoga University, and abroad colleges like Stanford, Harvard, everybody is in a. But again, I underline, these are all at colleges, universities, not a single research institute. William College, University, Amsterdam colleges, National University of Singapore. So there are several disciplines, boundaries identified like energy, climate, sustainability. They are not theoretical courses, physics, chemistry, theme-based courses. Energy, climate, sustainability, life, evolution, universe, health and well-being. There are several. At least I have 40-50 days. I will not go into them. So I already told you about National Technology University. The university is mainly for technology and humanity, linked with science. So, and for addressing the humanities great challenges, and other people who are working on this, even in India, Sai University, means they are universities, they are working in a peaceful way, how to fit into the NEP 2020 model. Sai University, Ashoka University in Sonipat, Lem University in Pune, everybody is working with their own mandates, at least started in a small way. Then TERI University, TERI has maximum visibility. DG wants to be visible. You have to stand first. Who should be visible? It should not be like invisible corona. Others take our data and they become visible. Why not me? Then art-based education, because of liberal arts, the acquisition purpose is main, of which I am a part. Then Harvard, Stanford, I already said. The final concept so far as NEERI is education to research is what is happening outside. Till now we cannot. Why not we take research to research? Research driven academics. Whatever research, whatever knowledge, whatever facts we are generating, including environmental arts and environmental design. And IFD is doing in Andhra. Environmental arts and environmental design. Why not me? At least have a linkage in development. So these are all several things why we need to do it. And Multidisciplinary committee, there are several recommendations. I won't go into detail because it's already 1225. Immediate recommendations which require minimum amount of resources. Medium term recommendations as per NEP. Some resource commitments are required. Third is long term in terms of vision projects with funds and effort. Okay. Now I come to the last part of how NEERI can take care of it. Liberal arts, there are several items like now what is recommended at NEP is you should have education institutions should have the departments of language, literature, music, philosophy, biology, arts, dance, theatre, or at least they should have a connection with such an institution like Chitrapada Mahavidyalaya. 3D printing is there to be linked with the environmental arts, mathematics, mathematical biology, then statistics, pure and applied sciences. There are several things listed which are required here, either in the college or have a linkage to start with if resources are being constraints. Then already Savitribai Phule University has taken an initiative in Pune on the liberal arts fund linking with science and engineering. Then IIT Gandhinagar, IIM, then Film University I already studied, then Kriya University, there are some other universities. And I already told about the founding and funding organizations and all that, which require for doing all these multi-computing facilities. Then virtual labs, MIT Media Lab is there. These are Harvard. So there are several examples. But I want to put only NEERI can take a holistic view on its own or on integrated connections and network. NEERI could open. NEERI means again anybody, any lab, any institution which has any CSIR lab. IT infrastructure and campus student information system. It requires several things. We start sitting with the what do we call working with the board and nuts level. The last part I try to identify is I almost listed some 40 to 50 items, which out of which 2, 3, 5 which need to think of in its national priorities or national mandate. Because one of the advantages NEERI is having is we have a CSIR some teaching, RA training regional where we organize the training programs, greenfields, EAA, carrying the question, etc. etc. So there are several, by no means they are in the reality order to close, I think before 12:30, another 2 minutes. Is that everybody was asking, being an EV person with my contacts I get NEERI ने पैंडेमिक के बारे में कुछ रिसर्च किया है. पैंडेमिक अवॉइड करने के लिए कुछ चीजें मेथड के एनवायरमेंटल प्रैक्टिसेस है क्या? NEERI can really train all the people in the pandemic prevention. Before now, you have Corona 2019. Fortunately, we are in third wave, hopefully. Somebody is starting a fourth wave. Yesterday, IIT Kanpur model is starting a fourth wave. Why not it be a scientific wave? So, one of the international demands which I put on the top of the agenda for me is, and whatever happened in Delhi, number of deaths, etc. Corona plus climate change and carrying capacity of Delhi to take care of that much pollution. So one topic that's been internationally talked about, which I think we should take the first step according to me, pandemic and climate change prevention, environmental science and engineering research. Can we be the first institution in the world to do this? Pandemic prevention, environmental science and engineering research, training programs, education institutions through ITS and other programs. We have several linkages and MOUs with several industries. Can it be the lead? I wish it should be. Sustainability is very vaguely defined because sustainability and sustainable development goals are linked. And we know how they are all delayed because of whatever we are facing in last few years. So sustainability, SDGs, carrying capacity could be one more area we can think of. These are all only thoughts for detailed brainstorming session. Other one is there are government of India, there are 35 schemes of implementation, or you call it as Swachh Bharat, Abhiyan or smart cities or something else. But nobody has really evaluated, including the Digital India projects. We know digital, several problems were there, but now we are recommending digital for everything after Corona. But then, how do we live in between? So can we not evaluate all those things by going from digital to environmental India? How we make an environmental India free in this Azadi year, so that when we celebrate our centenary, all the people in the country will have a safe environment. The other one is grand environmental challenges, global environmental challenges, ozone depletion. There is no course available. There is no policy decision available. There is no think tank available in an integrated way. So global environmental challenges is could be one. One more. Now everybody talks in the IT field of metaverse or IT savvy, or everybody now. If you want to stay in the market, you have to talk at least use once and metaverse. But how green is the metaverse? There are several articles and researches there. They are talking of biometaverse. How all the environmental considerations can be fitted to the metaverse? Can we, as an advanced technology, biometaverse, can we not think of it? And the other thing is in focus is, of course, cutting edge areas of research. The Indian traditional environmental systems, which we have talked number of times, including even in our latest VNIT science exhibition. We have several things. Then the other thing is we are always depending on Google for our solution. There was a study, if Google disappears today morning, what will happen to the whole world of the country? But we have a Google from which we always take the solution which has evolved over millions of years. That is our nature, nature's Google. There are several features, bio-inspired designs, bio-inspired materials. There are some. Why not nature's Google? So that they are using, trying to push under the NBIL, nature-based integrated lab. Why not NEERI? Then, of course, NEERI should also think of current issues in environmental science, social sciences, and humanities. What NEP summary envisages with multidisciplinary is intensive level, bringing everybody under one umbrella. There is no outsider. Whether it is daily wages to driver or director. Anybody, there is nobody else. Combination of scientists, this is the preamble of NEP. Scholars, engineers, industries, NGOs, government, non-profit organizations, and citizens to discover innovative solutions to complex problems beneficial to humanity and translate them to society. Then everybody is also talking about post-pandemic education. This is the new normal. Cannot NEERI said the new normal. What is normal? How could it be new normal? If another corona comes, corona 2025, corona 2019, are we ready? We are running for vaccine, we are running our life, we are save our souls as well as. If something happens after every time being we are addressing, another some kind of corona, some other mutation, some other virus comes, 2025. Are we ready? That is I remember the day I joined NEERI. At that time, the custom was every newly joined scientist should meet director for briefing for 10-15 minutes. Every scientist, newly joined scientist should meet the director of meeting. That's when I joined. October 20th, 1978. I met him. I still remember the words that was said. You always, a research issue always has to be ahead of its time, at least by 10 years. By the time the problem comes to the solution, research institute should be ready with the solution. Not to run for a vaccine after corona is developed. Then several new subjects and under these are happening like environmental tipping points, air pollution, adverse meteorology, corona, global climate change, sand storms from Rajasthan. All this, how the whole thing could become worst in no time. These are all the tipping points. How one reduce that? Environmental tipping points is one of the needs, and there are several national missions whose environmental implications are yet to be studied. And new subjects are being coined, like earth emotions, how the life we are leading, how my life is related to the life, the status of the Nagpur or earth, or how I am connected to the, or what kind of emotion. This was done even by Jagdish Chandra Bose, how plants experience the emotions for that. Other thing is to train all these people during Corona. There is no institution in the country which is training, taking care of environmental governance. How the Pollution Control Board chairmen and member secretaries are government of India heads. I was called for an administrative staff college of India in Hyderabad to address all the IASP. They said one of the reasons is they said there is no institution in the country which will train these people in environmental governance. If Nagpur collector comes, she becomes encyclopedia of everything depending on where she is posted and what she is doing. Overnight, she becomes vaccine expert, she becomes environmental expert, she becomes expert on everything. And same is the case with politicians. But is there any institution like administrative staff college or engineering staff college, environmental governance is another requirement. And the other requirements are development of environmental tools, techniques, databases. Now everybody talks of entrepreneurship. So environmental scale up and startups and scale ups. Then we appoint separate persons for water and wastewater treatment plant operators, air pollution plant operators. We are not trying scientists, are not trying. I became an electrician to repair my house. So that's why all this skill education has green skill has become part of it. So everybody should be exposed. It should be like a Maharashtrian Mahalakshmi Thali. Food may be your main, but there are 16 items around that. They are required depending on your case and requirements. Other 5-star. And lastly, now maths and biology, subjects integrations, nature and psychological therapy, biology and neuroscience. And coming to even the environmental field, artificial intelligence and psychology. You see, corona and psychology, climate psychology and climate psychiatry. There is one special branch session in the heads of the state meeting every year in December. Similarly, environmental neurology and medical psychiatry, digital and screening effect. The last sentence I would like to say before I close in this talk is that while studying the effects of air pollution on daily population in one of our projects, I have come across several cases saying that what are the epigenetic changes caused in daily population? Genetics everybody knows. Epigenetic these switches which operate these genes. If these switches can be switched off, so the problem, particularly for the special children, if the disease causing switches can be switched off through epigenetic mechanisms. There are several mechanisms like this. Then that led to me to think, why not we do with respect to the environment induced epigenetic changes? And how we can take up environmental pollutants are which are some are harmful, some are not. How those pollutants or those chemicals or those things can be taken care advantage of to trigger. So environmental epigenetics is another big subject which is happening. So the final request is thanks for the opportunity. There are several things like environment, even sky is not the limit. When I say sky is not the limit, I happened to visit when I was talking to Kasturi Rangan and NIAS and Space Research Organization Bangalore. They asked me, are you doing any research in space? There are lots of satellites are moving in the orbit. There is a lot of space. Just yesterday there was a newspaper item hitting this one. And something hitting the moon with so much of debris. How to address all these space missions? One, how do you take care of space pollution? Please tell us if you know somebody who's working on that. We would like to collaborate with you. Space pollution. We are not left space. We are not left oceans. We are not left everything, and we are not left ourselves. So thanks for the opportunity. There are any questions that we have to answer. This is linked to education institutions, research institutions. Syllabus is big. This is like a menu card in a hotel or a five-star hotel which you have this much big. But depending on various priorities, requirements, nation's requirements, I wish, I pray, I support, I would like to be part and contribute to something can a nation building exercise to put NEERI to whom I owe my life, whatever I am today. Full is to me. NEERI Nagpur nation made me what I am today. I'm too happy. Thanks you very much.
सर मैडम क्वेश्चंस सर मैडम आप है क्वेश्चंस कुछ पूछना है तो आप पूछ सकते हैं कैन यू हियर मीनाक्षी मैडम
Yes, Meenakshi madam.
Madam, you can ask a question.
Yes, it was nice topic and also nicely explained also very well and really informative also. And I felt some of the topics that was discussed was really very useful for us. And so I wanted to ask about some important things about the I mean, how to deal. You have already told that if something comes, no, suddenly now, we are dealing with this COVID situation, and something suddenly comes, this new, and this, what you can say is that is a renewed situation में अभी फिर से यदि कुछ आ गया, how we will deal with it? So it was a very interesting question which struck my mind. How will we prepare for such things? So what are the solutions for this? And what will be our innovative minds to deal with all these tragedies in our life, that is like Corona and all these things. All suddenly something comes up again. How we can deal with this? So I'm really curious about this. So please, once again, please explain to me.
I can speak from here, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Yeah, that's what it requires a long discussion, perhaps we could be, but only a couple of points at this stage I will tell. That is the reason in the what NEERI can do or any environmental lab can do. First item is pandemic prevention, the engineering and sciences research. There are some things happening which we could talk. And just to give an example, day before yesterday we have seen Hindu newspaper. It's written in future epidemics, future controls depends on the sewage monitoring in the respected area, so that they are the first, cheapest and easy identifiers of what is going to come. If you can share your mail ID or phone number, we could talk more on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It's a really challenging situation. Yes.
And NEP is mainly made to face challenges and solve them, right?
Any questions, madam? Sujata, madam? Any professor, teacher?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
So I am Dr. Manish, professor in civil engineering department from NEP2020 University, ICFI University, Agartala, Tripura.
Okay.
Sir, my question is that can we have any kind of collaborative research works with, I mean, NEERI can have collaborative research works with the private universities, specifically related to the problems of the local region. Is there any such programs that we actually run here, so that some specific problems that are related to this northeast regions that can be taken up for the solutions?
Okay. Have you finished it? I think NEERI director will be able to speak more on that. But as per the NEP provisions, all this inter-private, public, they all will be collaborating together to make a cluster and do this, because it is not a individual decision. I request Director NEERI to talk on this.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
For Northeast, there is a special program of CSIR, not NEERI as such. Many programs of government of India, different ministries, DBT, DST, especially for Northeastern regions. You are from Agartala, you said. So you go through all the details, which is available on Ministry website or CSIR website, and then you can collaborate with not only with NEERI, with any CSIR institute. We are requested to go through all the details of all these ministries. There are special programs running on for Northeastern region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, I don't think there are no questions now. So we will close, and I will hand over. Thank you, sir, for your guidance.
इस विषय की व्याप्ति ही इतनी है कि बहुत सारे सवाल सभी के जहन में उठते होंगे, लेकिन ऐसी सभाओं में इनका उत्तर देना संभव नहीं है। जिनके पास भी सवाल होंगे इससे रिलेटेड, वो प्लीज डॉक्टर राव सर से आप मेल पे या फोन पे बात करके अपने सवालों के सॉल्यूशंस ढूंढने की कोशिश करिएगा। धन्यवाद। Thank you, sir, for enlightening, motivating, and thought-provoking talk. मैं निदेशक महोदय से अनुरोध करती हूँ कि वे मुख्य वक्ता को स्मृति चिन्ह द्वारा सम्मानित करें। श्री प्रकाश कुमार जी से अनुरोध है, आभार प्रदर्शन करें।
माननीय निदेशक महोदय, मेरे साथी और प्रोफेसर्स, टीचर्स और जो सभी लोग जो जुड़े हुए इस कार्यक्रम से, एक्चुअली मैं बहुत ज्यादा नहीं बोलूंगा। राव साहब ने जो लेक्चर दिया है, जो एक थीम था नेशनल एनवायरमेंट पॉलिसी, तो जो मैंने राव साहब का जो लेक्चर समझा, तो मैं इतना ही कहूंगा सर कि मुझे लगता है ये जो आपकी जो विजन है, तो हमें सर डिवीजन वाइज लेना चाहिए इस विजन को, क्योंकि राव का जो एयर पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल जो है सब्जेक्ट रहा है, तो हम मल्टी जो नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में कैसा कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकता है और कैसा इसमें जो एक डॉक्यूमेंट या फिर एक क्या कहेंगे जो जिसका मतलब एक नेरी कैसा आधार दे सकता है इस नेशन को। तो राव साहब, आपका एयर पोल्यूशन जो आपका एरिया है, क्वालिटी मॉनिटरिंग या मॉडलिंग या एयर पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल का, तो हम उसी से शुरुआत करते हैं। तो इसके बाद जो है मुझे लगता है फॉलो अप जो लेंगे या फिर तो आपको पूरा इन्वॉल्व करेंगे और सर हम पूरा उसमें जो है एक सब्जेक्ट वाइज और वैल्यू वाइज जाएंगे, क्योंकि सारा एक साथ हम नहीं कर सकते मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी में। बिल्कुल। और एक जो मुझे पॉइंट आउट करना है राव साहब का जो लेक्चर था, इसमें ये था कि जो आपका एक मुझे लगता है नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में एक्टिविटी बेस्ड लर्निंग बहुत इसको भी इम्पोर्टेंस दिया है। तो जो 8वीं 9वीं 10वीं के हैं, तो उसमें भी इसी तरह की एक पॉलिसी बना सकते हैं या फिर कोर्सेस जो डिवाइस कर सकते हैं जिसके जरिए हम बच्चों को, बिकॉज मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी का भी बेस जो है वो साइंस ही है, मतलब उसको चाहे केमिस्ट्री हो, चाहे फिजिक्स हो, बायोलॉजी हो, बेसिक चीजें तो आनी ही चाहिए। और उसके लिए जो नेरी है मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी की बिल्डिंग कभी खड़ी होगी तो बेसिक साइंस को पढ़ाएंगे। तो इसमें जो है
1 second, sorry to interrupt. The whole concept of Mashiktu Committee and Kasturagan was ultimately to convert every education institution. Where they have given this title there. Multidisciplinary Educational Research University. So afterwards, there will not be, the line will be very blurry between a research institute and an education institute. It's ultimately to convert into merit. I slightly added environmental as the title of this talk. Multidisciplinary Environmental Education Research.
ओके, तो सर हम इस पे पूरा काम करेंगे। ऑलरेडी हमने जिज्ञासा और स्किल डेवलपमेंट इसमें करेंगे और ग्रीन स्किल डेवलपमेंट तो हम वो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी वगैरह है वो करेंगे पूरा जो कोर्सेस है। तो इसी के साथ मैं निदेशक महोदय हमारे और सभी स्टाफ की ओर से मैं सभी का धन्यवाद करता हूँ, पर्टिकुलरली प्रोफेसर, टीचर्स, आप लोग, क्योंकि आप हमारे जो है बहुत ही सपोर्टिव रहते हैं हमेशा और आपके फीडबैक पे हमारा जो है, क्योंकि एनईपी जो है ऑब्वियसली एजुकेशन पॉलिसी स्टूडेंट्स हम जानते हैं कि आपका जो भी एकेडमिक शेड्यूल होता है वो बिजी होता है, हम आपको हमेशा डिस्टर्ब करते हैं, क्योंकि स्टूडेंट्स आपकी जो रीजनल कांग्रेस, साइंस कांग्रेस होती है, नेशनल होती है, किसी भी लेवल पे, और अभी CSIR में बताना चाहूंगा आपको कि इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे हम कैसे कोलैबोरेट कर सकते हैं। जिस जोरहाट में मीटिंग है सर, मैं जा रहा हूँ उसमें 11 को, तो उसमें ये मुद्दा है कि इंटरनेशनल नेशनल लेवल पे तो हम कोलैबोरेट कर रहे हैं स्टूडेंट से, लेकिन इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे कुछ ऐसे एक्सचेंज प्रोग्राम हो सकते हैं, तो उसको भी डिबेट है अभी जो डायरेक्टर निश के साथ, तो उसमें फिर आपका बहुत बड़ा रोल रहेगा प्रोफेसर एंड टीचर्स, और आपको सब, और हम बहुत जल्द एक टीचर्स वर्कशॉप भी करेंगे जिसमें आपको पूरा जो जैसे नेशनल एनवायरमेंट पॉलिसी है या फिर रिसर्च प्रोग्राम है, इनोवेशन है। तो आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और CSIR स्टाफ की ओर से जो आपने ज्वाइन किया, और सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स, मेरे नेरी के साथी, मेरे सभी डिविजन जिनका डायरेक्ट या इनडायरेक्टली सपोर्ट रहा है, उन सभी को, जय सचिवालय मैडम और पद्मा मैडम को भी मैं देख पा रहा हूँ यहाँ पे फ्रंट लाइन में बैठी है, उनका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, क्योंकि आज इंटरनेशनल वुमेन्स डे है और राइलू मैडम ने अपना हमारा जो इन्विटेशन है, हमारा जो एक उनको ऑनर दिया गया, उसको सम्मान दिया, उसको उन्होंने स्वीकार किया, उसके लिए उनका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और इसी के साथ मैं यहाँ पे कार्यक्रम की समाप्ति की घोषणा करता हूँ और हम इसी तरह से मिलते रहेंगे और मुझे लगता है कि आने वाला 8 अप्रैल हमारा फाउंडेशन डे होगा तो ये ऑडिटोरियम हम उस दिन फुल कर पाएंगे क्योंकि अभी रिस्ट्रिक्शंस है तो हमने बहुत ज्यादा किसी को क्या कहेंगे कि कंपल्शन नहीं रखा कि मतलब या फिर कोई आग्रह नहीं किया हमने क्योंकि दोनों ऑप्शन हाइब्रिड मोड में हमने ओपन रखा लेकिन 8 अप्रैल से मुझे लगता है कि हम जो 2-3 साल पहले की हमारी जो ग्लोरी थी इस ऑडिटोरियम की वो वापस आएगी और हम इसी तरह के कार्यक्रम करते रहेंगे और बच्चों से स्टूडेंट से जो ऑडिटोरियम है हमेशा आस्था चलता रहा है वो फिर से शुरू होगा थैंक यू वेरी मच थैंक यू प्रोफेसर एंड टीचर्स थैंक यू स्टाफ थैंक यू कोलीग्स और थैंक यू राज साहब थैंक यू वेरी Here we conclude our program.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.